Welcome to the deep dive. We're kicking things off today looking at something, well, truly transformative in healthcare.
AI. Artificial intelligence, yeah.
And the numbers, they really tell a story. The global market for AI in healthcare, around $27 billion in 2024.
Already huge.
Right. But just 1 year later, it's projected to hit $37 billion. And here's the real kicker. By 2034, they're predicting something like $614 billion.
Wow.
That's a 15-fold jump in just 10 years. It makes you think, this could be a revolution on the scale of antibiotics, maybe, or mass vaccination.
It really is an incredibly fast-moving field.
Yeah.
And it's completely natural for you to be wondering, okay, what does this all mean in practice?
Exactly. And that's what we're digging into. Can AI actually replace doctors? And, how's it being used right now in clinics worldwide? And we'll look specifically at Russia, too.
We've gone through a pretty detailed article on this. It covers the applications, the hurdles, the future.
Yeah, try and bring you the key stuff.
Our mission, really, is to help you get a clear picture of what medical AI can do today, where it's actually being used, and, let's be honest, how likely it is that an algorithm will be making all the calls about your health anytime soon.
We want to make it make sense, give you a real feel for what's happening.
Exactly. Keep it accessible.
Okay, so basics first. When we say AI in medicine, what are we actually talking about? It's not like some sci-fi robot doctor, right?
No, not quite yet anyway. In computer science terms, AI is basically sophisticated software. It's designed to take in massive amounts of data.
Okay.
Analyze it, find patterns maybe we wouldn't see, make predictions from those patterns, and sometimes, make decisions. Think of it as a super-powered assistant for digging through medical data.
Mountains of it, I imagine.
Oh, way more than any single person could handle. And to learn, it needs two key things.
Which are?
Okay, first it needs the raw material. That's huge data sets, patient records, medical images like x-rays, scans, even genomic data. That's the fuel.
Got it. Data.
Second, it needs the instruction manual, how to learn from all that data. And those are the machine learning algorithms. It's a whole field focused on creating these learning methods.
Right, machine learning. So
Okay.
what kinds of methods are we talking about? How do these systems actually get trained?
Generally, you can think about it in two main ways. The first is what we call traditional or controlled learning.
Controlled?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The AI learns from structured data. That means the information is neatly organized, and crucially, the correct answers are already there.
Can you give an example? Make it a bit more concrete.
Sure. Let's say you want to train an AI to predict if someone's at risk for diabetes. You'd feed it a structured data set, lots of patient info, age, weight, BMI, glucose levels.
The usual suspects.
Exactly. And, critically, for each patient, you tell the AI whether they actually have diabetes or not. That's the correct answer. By chewing through all this, it learns the patterns.
Okay. So it links the factors to the outcome.
Precisely. Then, give it data from a new patient, and it can predict their risk based on those learned patterns.
Makes sense. Learning from labeled examples. What about the second type?
Right. The second type uses uncontrolled and partially controlled algorithms. This is where it gets interesting because it learns from unstructured data.
Unstructured, like what?
Think doctor's notes, free text, audio recordings, or, importantly, images like x-rays that haven't been labeled or annotated by a human.
Okay. How does it learn from just raw pictures?
Well, this is where fancy stuff like deep learning and convolutional neural networks, CNNs, come in. It's a bit like how our own visual system works.
How so?
Our brain learns to recognize things by seeing features, edges, shapes, textures, and putting them together. CNNs do something similar with layers of artificial neurons. They automatically pick out features from images, starting simple and getting more complex.
Okay, I think I follow. But if the x-rays aren't labeled, how does it know if something's a problem, like a tumor, versus just normal anatomy?
Great question. That's where the partially controlled part comes in. If you want the AI not just to spot something unusual, but to know what it is, say, tell a benign cyst from a cancerous tumor in the game of dinner. You need to give it some help.
Like some labeled examples.
Exactly. A radiologist might go through some of the training images and mark the tumors, label them. That gives the algorithm the specific examples it needs to learn that particular task.
Gotcha. So even with complex data, it learns by example, maybe just fewer examples needed sometimes.
Sort of, yeah. And once it's trained, you have to test it, right? Give it a final exam.
How does that work?
You give it a completely new set of unlabeled data it's never seen before. And you see how well it does at finding, say, the tumors without any hints. If it performs accurately on that test,
Then it might be ready for the real world.
then it can be considered for practical use, yeah.
That's really interesting, getting that peek under the hood. So, okay, we understand a bit about how it works. Where are we actually seeing it used now? What are the concrete applications?
Well, there are several key areas where AI is definitely making inroads, though it's worth saying, widespread, everyday use is still kind of evolving.
Right, it's not everywhere yet.
Not uniformly, no. But one big area is medical consultations, using natural language processing, NLP.
NLP, that's about computers understanding human language, right? Like chatbots and stuff.
Exactly. And this includes both, let's say, traditional NLP models and the newer, more powerful deep learning ones, the large language models, or LLMs.
Like ChatGPT.
Sort of, yes. LLMs can understand language and generate really coherent text. They're getting surprisingly good at handling basic medical questions.
The article mentioned one called LIWC-22, a traditional one.
Yeah, LIWC-22. It's used more for analysis and looks at the language patients use, maybe on social media or in feedback forms. It's not perfect, struggles with sarcasm, slang.
The nuances of human language.
Right. But it can give hospitals a broad sense of patient satisfaction, how people are feeling about their care.
Interesting, like a sentiment analysis tool. What about the more advanced ones? MedPaul-M was mentioned, the medical ChatGPT.
Ah, yes, MedPaul-M. That's a big step up.
Yeah.
Pretty remarkably, in 2023, it actually passed the U.S. medical licensing exam.
Seriously, the same exam doctors take.
Yep, showed a level of knowledge comparable to a human doctor. The first version got about 67%, but then an updated one hit 86.5%.
Wow. So is it ready to start diagnosing people over chat?
Not quite. Doctors who reviewed its consultations said yes, they were often more scientifically accurate than, say, standard ChatGPT. But they also felt the answers, while factually okay, sometimes lacked depth. They weren't as complete or nuanced as what you'd get from a human doctor.
So good for information maybe, but not the whole picture.
Exactly. It's a powerful information tool, but it doesn't have that comprehensive human judgment yet.
Okay, that makes sense. What about diagnostics, especially medical images? We hear so much about AI reading scans.
Yeah, that's a huge area for deep learning. The article did note that, particularly in the US, a lot of this is still more in research than routine clinical practice. But there are definitely promising examples emerging.
Like what?
Well, there's CRCnet. It's being developed to help doctors during colonoscopies. It watches the video feed in real time and flags potential polyps.
Things that could become cancerous.
Right. Early signs of colorectal cancer. The initial studies look good, but it needs more real-world testing.
Okay, still developing. Are there AI diagnostic tools already being used in hospitals?
Oh, definitely. RayStation is one. It's a Japanese system for planning radiation therapy for cancer.
How does AI help there?
It uses algorithms to very precisely map out the tumor and the healthy tissue around it on CT scans. This helps target the radiation much better. It's been used in places like the University Hospital of Southern Denmark since 2023.
So making treatment more effective and potentially safer.
That's the goal. Another one is Profound Suite. This has FDA approval in the US. It helps read mammograms to detect breast cancer.
How does it help? Does it just say a cancer or no cancer?
No, it's more of an assistant. It analyzes the mammogram, highlights suspicious areas, and even gives a confidence score. Like the article mentioned, it might say it's 92% certain an area looks cancerous based on all the images it learned from.
So it gives the radiologist a probability to consider, like a second opinion.
Exactly, a very fast, data-driven second opinion. And then you have multimodal models,
Multimodal, meaning
they can handle different types of data together, text, images, maybe even audio or video. Microsoft has one called Mayar 2.
What can it do?
It can look at an X-ray and generate a text report about it. Radiologists who tested it said it performed like a junior or maybe mid-level specialist. Still mostly research, but shows the potential for AI to synthesize information.
That could be a huge time saver. Are any MMs actually in clinics now?
Yes, Viz.ai is a great example, used in the US for stroke detection.
Stroke. How does it help there? Time is critical with stroke.
Absolutely. So when a patient comes in with suspected stroke and gets a brain scan, the images go straight to Viz.ai servers. The AI analyzes them incredibly quickly.
Looking for blockages.
Yes, looking for blocked arteries. If it finds one, boom, it sends an alert instantly to the stroke specialist's phones. In those crucial minutes after a stroke, getting that alert out fast can literally save brain function, save lives.
Wow, that's a really powerful, tangible benefit.
Okay.
Okay, so consultations, diagnostics. What about drug development? Can AI help create new medicines?
Yeah, it absolutely can, and this is potentially one of the most revolutionary areas. Think AlphaFold from DeepMind.
AlphaFold, I've heard of that. Protein folding, right?
Exactly. It was trained on a massive database of known protein structures, and it learned how to predict the complex 3D shape of a protein just from its basic building blocks, the amino acid sequence.
And why is knowing the 3D shape so important?
Because a protein's shape determines its function, what it does in the body. Understanding that shape is fundamental. AlphaFold helped researchers understand parts of the SARS-CoV-2 virus, for example, which helped vaccine development.
Okay, useful for basic science, but drug development.
Huge implications there. Especially for biologic drugs, medicines made from proteins, think treatments for cancer, or complex conditions like idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. AlphaFold could massively speed up designing proteins that act as drugs.
So designing new therapies.
Potentially, yes. These AI-designed drugs are still in early clinical trials, but the hope is it could revolutionize how we tackle some really tough diseases.
That's incredible. Okay, one last area mentioned was risk assessment, predictive analytics.
Right, using machine learning to predict future health events. Models like Closed Loop analyze tons of patient data, electronic health records, billing info, risk factors.
Looks for patterns again.
Exactly. To identify which patients are at higher risk for things like, say, being readmitted to the hospital unexpectedly. This is actually being used in big U.S. insurance programs like Medicare and Medicaid.
Why? What's the benefit?
If you can identify high-risk patients early, you can intervene proactively. Maybe offer more support, closer monitoring, try to prevent that hospitalization before it happens, better care, lower costs.
Okay, so AI is definitely making its mark globally. Let's zoom in now on Russia. How's it being adopted there? Is the situation similar?
Well, the article points out that Russia does have a legal framework in place, laws and regulations that cover AI in medicine, defining responsibilities, and so on.
And like other medical devices, AI software needs official approval.
Yes, that's key. Any AI software used for medical purposes has to be registered in the State Registry of Medical Devices. It needs the green light from Rostovnadzor, the regulatory body.
Are there Russian AI systems that have gotten that approval?
Yes, several. WeBiomed is one. It's a predictive analytics platform from a Russian company.
What does it do?
It can anonymize patient data from electronic records, generate reports, but also importantly, it helps doctors check if their prescriptions align with official clinical guidelines and health ministry orders, kind of like a compliance check.
Okay. Any others?
Botkin.ai is another big one. It got a lot of use analyzing X-rays during the COVID pandemic, helping spot signs of the virus in clinics across Russia.
Right. Imaging seems big everywhere.
It does. There's also Gamma Multivox, used at Sekhanov University's clinic. It streamlines getting patient info to the radiology machine CT, MRI, and then pulls the results, including measurements from the scans, right back into the patient's record.
Making the workflow smoother.
Exactly. And it's not just imaging. There's Top 3 from Spermid AI.
Schrober, the bank.
Their medical AI division,
Yeah.
Top 3 is used in many Moscow state hospitals. It reads the patient's complaints from their record and suggests the 3 most likely diagnoses.
Suggests. The doctor still decides.
Oh, absolutely. The doctor sees the suggestions, can agree with one, or just proceed with their own assessment. The developers claim it's pretty good, identifies like 95% of common diseases.
Interesting. And you mentioned Moscow clinics using AI for analyzing lung CTs and brain MRIs since 2020.
That's right. There's been a concerted effort, particularly in Moscow, to integrate these imaging analysis tools.
Is it only Russian systems being used? Or are foreign ones allowed too?
Foreign systems can be used if they get registered. The article mentioned RayStation 8B, the Japanese radiotherapy planner, is approved and used in Russia too.
So what's the overall picture? How widely adopted is AI in Russian healthcare?
The numbers suggest it's definitely growing. RBC data indicated around 37% of healthcare organizations were using AI in 2024.
Almost 40%.
Yeah, and another 43% said they were planning to implement it soon. So there's clear momentum.
The article also had some perspectives from the ground, a private clinic, RasVet, and a radiologist. What did they say?
Right. The medical director at RasVet, Alexei Paramanov, talked about their system called Aja. It's for quality control.
How does that work?
It's trained on millions of doctors' notes. It looks for deviations from what they consider a high-quality consultation or record and flags them for review by human experts.
So using AI to check the quality of care.
Essentially, yes. They also use AI for analyzing dental x-rays, skin x-rays, and even skin mapping for melanoma risk. He expects future equipment, endoscopes, Scanners will have more AI built in for things like spotting polyps or anomalies automatically.
Makes sense. And the radiologist, Pavel Jaleshe.
He confirmed, yes, AI services exist for finding problems on chest x-rays, CT scans of the head, chest, abdomen. But he stressed they're only as good as the data they were trained on.
They have limitations.
Big time. But he highlighted a key advantage. AI doesn't get tired. It doesn't get distracted. It's consistent.
I can see how that would be valuable.
Definitely. His clinic uses AI for chest CT analysis, but he emphasized you have to understand its limits, like it doesn't know the patient's history. He also pointed out it's really useful for morphometry.
Morphometry, measuring things.
Exactly, measuring stuff accurately and fast, like the volume of fluid in the lungs, the diameter of a blood vessel, the height of vertebrae, tasks that take humans time, and where different people might measure slightly differently. AI is quick and consistent at that.
So real benefits, but also real limitations still. Okay, this has been fascinating. As we wrap up, what are the main things you think our listeners should take away from this deep dive?
Okay, well, first, I'd say it seems pretty clear AI isn't going to completely replace doctors anytime soon. Probably not ever, in the way some people imagine.
More like a tool.
Exactly. A very powerful tool that helps humans do their jobs better. It's definitely changing how healthcare is delivered, but it's augmenting, not replacing. Second takeaway. Adoption is growing, no doubt, but it's uneven.
More common in some areas than others.
Right. Radiology is way ahead, for obvious reasons.
Okay.
Other areas are catching up more slowly. So the impact you feel might depend a lot on the specific medical field.
Okay, good points. So, with all that in mind, here's something for you, our listeners, to think about. As AI gets more and more integrated, what parts of the doctor's role, the human connection, the intuition, the complex judgment do you think will always be irreplaceable? And how might that doctor-patient relationship itself change in this AI-powered future?
It's a really interesting question to ponder.
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.